Sundance Film Festival, and I was at the Badass Coffee Company at 5 o'clock in the morning to get some coffee. Me and my friend were getting ready to go out and to see some films, and we were in Park City, Utah, and I'm standing in line half asleep, and my friend taps me on the shoulder and tells me to look right, and sitting right next to me is probably my favorite actor of all time, Nicolas Cage, and Patricia Arquette. Yeah, and after I stayed silent for about 5 minutes staring at him as he looked at me, he invited me to sit down with him and have a cup of coffee, and I got to sit with him for about 45 minutes, and we talked movies, and we talked about his career, and it was just, he's one of my favorite actors of all time. So sitting with him was pretty memorable to me, and to have a guy like that take time out of his day to do that for you, it just, because let me tell you, there's a lot of people in this business that you would never know aren't like that at all. They don't want, they really feel like they've been entitled to their positions, and they don't have to talk to anybody. Now, if a camera's on them, they're holding the babies and shaking hands and being cool, but the minute the camera's off, they're completely different people, and Nicholas just wasn't one of those people. He's extremely, extremely friendly. Christian was the same way. Christian was very, very nice to everybody that was around him, that Nicolas Cage meeting for me was like the icing on the cake. Like I was so excited to see him because I love his movies, I love his work. I think he's another one that's very underrated. He doesn't get a whole lot of credit for the work that he does, but it was a life-changing moment for me.
Yeah, and he can play any role.
Yeah.
I've seen him in love scenes and also being the bad guy and everything in between, and he does them all well.
Yeah. One movie he did that was, I don't know if you've ever heard about it or seen it, not a lot of people have, but one movie that I thought was a great role for him, and in my opinion showed the depth of who he was the movie Kiss of Death. And he played a drug dealer, and he had severe asthma, and he was just a ruthless dude. He gained a lot of weight for the role, and I wish it would have gotten a lot more attention than it did. But he was one of the ones that told me, he said, Eric, doesn't matter, how many movies you're in, don't turn down work. Don't ever turn down work. It doesn't matter if it's independent, if it's paid, if it's not. If you think it's going to make you a star, do the work, do it to the best of your ability, and just keep the projects moving no matter what.
Right.
And, that was years and years and years before, I even thought about, really taking this business serious. At the time, I was really heavily involved in the music business, but, getting to meet him and having him say that to me was incredible, and that was just that was a very, very memorable moment for me.
Yeah, because you never know what role, whether it be so tiny that you're just a blip on the screen, can lead to. Somebody can take notice of that's in the industry that'll say, oh, that's the guy I want, just from right there, and give you a leading role in something.
Yeah.
So, I could see that easily. Now, one of the people in the chat room, Jen, she wants to know if you have a favorite car like Nicolas Cage does.
Do I have a favorite car?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I do. The Bentley Coupe.
A Bentley Coupe?
Yes.
That's not a sports car, so I'm kind of surprised, but then again.
Yeah. It's a black-on-black Bentley Coupe.
Yeah. She said, wow, awesome. We have one caller. We're going to go ahead and pick that up, and let's see what he has to say. His name is David. David, are you with us?
I am here.
Hi.
Hi, Eric.
Hey.
I had a question about bullying.
Okay.
My question is, if you go on the flip side of the coin, how can we help that child who's been bullied come forward? Because they're always so ashamed to tell their parents or anyone because things would get worse. What can be done to make it right, more comfortable for that child to come forward?
Well, I think that's a good question, and I think what it is more than anything, it's communication and communicating with that child and letting them know that, they can talk to you about anything. Not, making it specific to bullying, but, just making it known that they can talk to you about anything. And it's okay, it's okay to be worried. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be nervous. I think a lot of kids today, it's almost, even back when I was in high school, it was uncool to admit that you were afraid of anything, or you were looked at as a weakling if you cried, or if you were if you avoided people. I think what you need to do is talk to your child and let them know it's okay. Nothing wrong with being afraid of something. The thing is communication. Letting the kids know that you have to communicate. And I say that to administrators. I tell that to parents. I tell that to teachers. You have to communicate with these kids, even in school. I mean, these teachers sometimes have these kids more than their parents have them. And, if these kids feel like they can't trust someone enough to talk to them, I think that's a lot of times where the problem starts, because if no one knows what's going wrong, the problem's going to continue to happen.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, we need to keep these kids safe.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, too, is letting, again, I think a lot of these kids are, they're afraid to say something to someone because they don't want the repercussions to come. They don't want to be considered a rat or a tattletale, or, they're afraid of the repercussions. But, that's where the adults have to step in and, be as one. I think what happens a lot of times is you get different opinions from the adults, and the kids get mixed signals. Some adults will say, I'll give you a perfect example. This young girl, real recently, it was about 6 months ago in New York, she went to her counselors. She was 16 years old. She was being bullied at a school in Brooklyn, and she went to her counselors, she went to her teachers, and she went to her principal, and all three of them told her, don't worry about it. That's just how kids act. It'll stop on its own. One teacher told her, it's like a rite of passage. Every kid goes through bullying. And this young girl ended up writing a letter to each one of those administrators and wrote a letter to her parents, and then threw herself in front of a city bus.
Oh, my gosh.
And, you're sending the wrong message. You have to pay attention to those warning signs, and I tell kids all the time. We out here in New Mexico, this past year, there was an incident about 45 miles away from the town that I live in, where a young girl, 12 years old, was being bullied at school, and she told her teacher about it. Teacher just blew it off, and her mom came home and found her hanging. And so you have to pay attention to those warning signs. If something's going on with your child, you need to communicate with them and let them know that it's okay. It's okay to say something.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, Eric, thank you very much. You've been very informative. And thank you, Pam and Dawn, for this time.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, Eric, I was curious. When you are, you just spoke a little bit about, you gave some examples of teens and youth that have, there have been noted cases where they've committed suicide because of bullying. And as part of you going out and speaking to the different students in the schools that you do you ever speak to that as well as kind of a, kind of an all-encompassing, not only just about bullying, but also about the teen suicide that can come from being bullied?
Yeah, I do. And, I'm very candid about, when I speak on that topic, I'm very candid about it. Especially kids nowadays, they don't want to be talked at. They want to be talked to, and you can't, kids nowadays, they know, they can read between the lines, and they know if you're being realistic with them or legitimate. And, so I'm very candid about that when it comes to suicide and, people considering it. I spoke at a school out here recently, and, I had a young girl come and tell me. She came and told me to my face, I've been considering suicide because people pick on me because I'm quiet and I'm different, and, I don't feel like I have any friends, and, people, they single me out because they think I'm weird because I don't talk. And, I told her, don't worry about what other people think. It's okay to be different. You be you. There's only, God made you for a specific reason, and God doesn't make mistakes, and if anybody has an issue with that, they can take it up with him. And,
that's right, amen. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's okay. And, we stayed talking for about a good half hour, and, she still stays in touch with me on Twitter, and, it's just one of those things where, and I asked her point blank, too, have you talked to anybody about this? And she said no, because I don't want my mom to think I'm crazy. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I just don't know a way out. And I told her, you need to talk to someone. Maybe I was that start, but since then she said she's talked to her mom, and she's actually been seeing her counselor at school now, and, she said she's feeling a lot better, and she's not so worried about what people say. And I think that's the biggest thing is when people hear it, and not just from me, but, even some of my other celebrity friends who have done this with me, when they hear that from us saying, hey, we don't care what people think. People can say what they want. I say it all the time. These kids really get inspired by that because they're thinking like, wow, you're a celebrity and you get bullied. You don't care what people think, then we shouldn't either,
That's right.
Yeah, they look up to you, and that's, just like if they would look up to a parent or a teacher or somebody, they look up to you as well, and other celebrities.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to drive that point home about, don't worry about what others think, because especially when you're when you're a teenager and you've got all this peer pressure, bearing down on you, that is really, really hard to maintain and remember a lot of times when you're trying to fit in and yet still be who you are. It's really tragic that it has to be that way, but kids, if they can be constantly reminded, I think that can make all the difference.
Right.
Now, we're getting towards the end of the hour, but I did also want to ask you about your performance packages. What is that about exactly?
I do, I get teamed up with a lot of other celebrities, and, there's, we have some stuff going on now with, like, Tiara Marie and I. She's from VH1's Love and Hip Hop, and people can book us together. She'll perform. I'll host. Griff Lamar, who's also an artist whose video is right now on BET's 106 in Park, and Bokeem Woodbine, who was just in the new movie Total Recall with Colin Farrell. There's all kinds of stuff going on with me right now, but basically, if they want to book me or one of these other artists or these other actors, there's a number, they can contact my manager, Hawk, at 720-323-3193. I also do a lot of hosting by myself. I co-host and I host at nightclubs all over the country, and or I do appearances, or if you need me to do an anti-bullying speech, I'm always available. And all my information's on my website.
Right.
And, you can go there and contact my manager or my publicist, Dave, at any time, and you will get a call back. I stay on top of my team about that. Sometimes a lot of these celebrities are hard to get a hold of, but you will get a call back. If you reach out to me, someone will reach back out to you.
Yeah, I have to give a shout-out to Dave, your publicist. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, and as busy as he is, he did take the time out to call me. We had a nice long chat. We've emailed, and then we had another call. And I want to thank him for helping us get you on our show. And thank you for agreeing to do it, too, because I think that everything you do besides the acting, I mean, it's just so important these days. And I can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. And, to add to that, my team, Dave has been a godsend to my team, and, Hawk, who's my manager, my agents, and Lynette, who's my assistant. As my professional team, they've been my backbone. They all see the bigger picture with me. And I think that's important,
Right.
To be successful in this business, you have to have people around you that believe in you, and they all believe in me 100%. So I'm very fortunate to have that kind of team around me. Dave, he's on top of his game. I think, sometimes Dave, he goes, well, not sometimes, all the time, he goes above and beyond the call of duty to get things done.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I really liked him. He was nice and easy to talk with, and I didn't feel nervous at all. He made me feel real, easy talking to him. So, just like you are. I mean, you're like one of us, and I don't feel nervous talking with you at all. Like you think you're going